Huh. I like that. It's one of those times where the moon is out in the daytime. It's man, I lost track of time. I lost track of time. It's 7 a.m. My computer said on the dot. Betty said. That's my main computer's name, Betty. I must have. I don't even remember. I don't even know what day it is. I just woke up. I pretty much just, it's been like a cool dream world since I've been here. I just get up. Hell, I might have died and went to heaven. I don't know. I just get up and I don't pay attention to what day it is or what time it is or anything. And I don't hardly even go outside anymore. I just sit down and start doing songs, you know. The tools are so there now that with the computer I have and the software I have, I could spend forever. The sound quality is 100% and quality, and the capabilities are reasonably things I dreamed about 20 years ago now I can do. I just found this software called Melodyne. It's hard for me to be impressed by anything, but this is impressive. I saw this interview. I was looking for this software to, basically it allows you to go in and extract music from an audio file and extract it as MIDI and bring it back in, bring it into any MIDI sequencer, and you can tune it or stretch it in time, or it's just incredible. I have it, I downloaded it, but I saw this interview on YouTube, and there's a guy speaking German, and you know, sometimes it's like you look at something and the translator was talking, and as the guy was talking in the background, I realized, oh, this is intense, you know. Sometimes it's like people say, oh, this guy's a genius or that guy's a genius, you know. And when you have a good overview of all the sciences and stuff, a strong overview, you can kind of pick out, like, well, it just looks like this guy's a genius, you know. People have called me a genius all the time, but I know better, you know. It's just I've had a lot of practice at things. But anyway, this guy, it was like an epic moment. I suddenly realized, oh, wow. And I downloaded his software, and it's impressive. It allows you to, you can tear a mix apart digitally, something every engineer's wanted to do I've dreamed about. You know, you have a mix, it's almost perfect, but there's a few things you'd like to change in it, but it's done. That's like having a light bulb sealed in concrete. You can't ever get it out, and if you do, you'll break it, you know. It's just what's done is done. But with this software, I played with it a little. I'm not going to get too much into it because I already have enough stuff with Logic Pro and the plugins I have and other software. And I haven't even opened Pro Tools for the first time in months last night. But anyway, yeah, you can tear a mix apart, retune a vocal, and then put it back together again. It's insane. And I tried it. It doesn't sound plasticky or shitty or clicky or poppy. It's just seamless. You can take existing songs and tune them to different keys, including and change the. It's just insanity. It's real simple actually though when I saw how they did it, but or he did it, but it's that he figured out in this time, at this point in history how to do that. It's impressive. But pretty soon you'll just composers just go up to their computer. Everybody will be a composer, and you just, that lady's trippy. You'll just go up to your computer and just say, hey, I want a beat like this. Give me a beat like Motown, and give me backing, some guitars like Elvis or something, and some, the lead violinist from the Boston Pops or Los Angeles Phil. I'm making no sense, man. So, magic. I've had a lot of magical things happen in my life that were totally weird. Last night, that's what reminded me. I should remind myself, I went through, Betty pulled up through Blizzy on a network of hard disks. My main computer's name is Betty. Hal does all the marketing. Yeah, he's working 24/7. That's all he does, and other looking around. He does like communications and monitoring of a lot of different stuff all over the world. Then he's networked to Betty, and then Betty's networked to a bigger network. But on this network, I have terabytes and terabytes of hard drives, and I found over 1,000 songs I'd written and recorded, and I was completely wiped out on morphine when they put me on it, and I spent like from October of one year to January of that year, all day, every day, archiving all the songs I'd written and recorded, and I thought it was lost, but you can't search for it either on the network. It has to be found by hand, going through millions of folders, and last night I found it accidentally. And magic, it reminded me of Ozzy. It's just so much. It's so much. Planet Caravan and magic. I don't know if that's a good one or not. I can't remember all of the things that happened with Planet Caravan, but I was thinking more of the other story. Two magical things that happened to me in LA, I guess. Things were going fine, and I was going to college, and I had a job, and it was before I started recording studio, and I had a roommate. He was kind of an asshole, a New Yorker, always the big boo bravado. So I said, this guy's an asshole. I don't want to live here. Plus, I was never home between school and work and other stuff, and so I had a Pinto wagon, and I blacked out the back, the windows, and I threw a single mattress in there because I figured if I didn't pay rent, I could buy this. I wanted an LXP5 lexicon processor for the reverb and the harmonizers, and so I was crashing in there all the time, and I would always park at this one in front of this one house at Gardner, and like on Gardner Street in Hollywood. I can't see Gardner and Hollywood, Sunset and Gardner, I think. Anyway, this I'd always park in front of this one beautiful house, and so that went on for like a year, and I got my LXP5, and it was in the car, and where I worked, I could plug it in, and there was underground parking there. So there's them damn lizards. That's trippy. and I would park there at work and use it and plug everything in, and then I would crash in the back of that car, and the temperature was great because it was underground parking, you know. But I always parked in front of this one beautiful house that, if I needed to just, you know, crash for a while or some whatever, and I'd always kind of look out this crack in the window and think, wouldn't it be great to like live there? I could see it had hardwood floors and beautiful windows and big trees around it, you know, and I always thought, wouldn't it be wicked to just have that house and live there, you know? And I'd always fantasize about what that would be like, you know? So anyway, like a couple years after that, I went to AA meetings on Melrose, 7929 Melrose, the senior center, all the time. That's what reminded me of RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., man. What a shout out, breaking his anonymity. What a great, cool guy. We were kind of friends, you know. I saw him there too. I watched Tropic Thunder last night, and but it reminded me of RDJ. What a cool guy, really cool. He is like Tony Stark in real life. He's the coolest ever. I miss seeing him all the time, but I really miss him. Oh, he never acted like a star ever. He was just a regular guy. But anyway, so I was at this AA meeting where I'd see him and other people all the time. Well, everybody goes out there, and I met this woman. She was kind of hitting on me, and for several weeks, and finally I went out to coffee with her, and I got to know her, and we dated and went around. So finally she said, well, come over to my house, you know. We ended up, I kissed her one night or something. I asked her first. I was young, you know. I said, hell, I almost always did that. So I would be like, am I supposed to kiss you now? Or should I, you know, I would like to kiss you if it's cool. If not, I'm good, you know. I didn't want to be an asshole or make a mistake like that, you know. But so one night I said, you know, can I kiss you now, or should I, or is it all right? We've been seeing each other. She said, yeah, you know. So then I went to her house. Somehow she said, well, come to my house. And I'm not going to say her name because she's an author and kind of known, and just don't want to go there with her at all. But I followed her to her house in my car, and she pulled up right in front of that house where I would always crash out and dream, you know, man, I wish I had this house. And she said, come on, let's go in. And she was single and lived alone there, you know. And that beautiful house that I'd parked in front of and crashed out in my car for a couple of years. And it wasn't because I was hard up or anything. It's just I was never home. I figured I'll just nap in the car. That bird. But it turned out that was her house, and she was my girlfriend for like 7 years, and that was her house, you know. And that I had picked that house out of all other houses to like pretend that was my place and park in front of it and sleep in my car. It was just so weird, you know. That was one weird thing. Then the job that I did private security at the time, basically in LA. Or anywhere. Private security is a joke. I mean, if you have a driver's license and a clean record, and that's probably suspect. And I had a background in martial arts and stuff, so anyway, I thought, well, that'll be good, and it's better than digging ditches anymore, you know. So I got a job doing private security, and my very first job, I was actually assigned as a bodyguard to Gary Shanley, and got to know him pretty well. I'm name dropping like a bitch in this. I don't care. That's just life, what goes on out there. But then finally I was assigned, and the first of it, they rotate you around, but I was finally assigned to AFI. I didn't even know what AFI was. It's the American Film Institute. It's like on a beautiful complex on this hill overlooking Hollywood. And I was assigned as I was, the first day, I was chief of security there. Oh man. So that's where I got to know David Lynch at. He took a liking to me. I had to make my rounds, and there was the Sony building up there. I'd always see this guy, and he knew somehow he knew I was a musician, and I had a 4-track cassette recorder in the car, and he would always come out, and he was using computers to edit sound. He was going on and on about the sound. I thought, well, this guy's a filmmaker. I didn't really know who he was then, but we were kind of like friends. He'd meet me out there every day, and every time I'd make him round, he'd step outside of his edit bay. His name's David Lynch. He makes films, and we became friends. Later I realized he was very successful, and I liked him. But at AFI, there was this redhead girl, and the guy who was the main operator there that ran the phones at AFI, Kevin, who was a member of the band Canned Heat, the keyboard player at one time, we were friends, and we were both like working. He was living out of his car, except he was a drunk. I was a college student. He was a drunk, always getting arrested and shit. He was doing it out of necessity. I was doing it for fun. But this red-haired, beautiful girl she had the brand new $80,000 convertible, and first time I laid eyes on Diane, I was doing security and just a lowly security guard there. And I was talking to Kevin, and this gorgeous red-haired came bouncing out of the main hall at AFI, the American Film Institute. And I just looked at her. She was like a dream, in the perfect dress and the perfect everything. And he goes, "Oh, that's Diane. Her name's Diane Freeze." He goes, her dad actually is Charles Freeze, Chuck Freeze, who I know pretty well now. I guess I gave my story away. I know him a little anyway. He's cool. But his production company brought Batman to TV and all these 60s shows. He invented the movie of the week. He invented the miniseries. Chuck's a legend. He's a huge industry giant. So anyway, I saw this red-haired girl, and he goes, "Oh, that's Diane Freeze. She's this little billionaire heiress bitch. Guys like you and I will never have a chance with a girl like that." He goes, "Don't even think about it." And I was like, okay. So, but she was like really something, That's the first time I ever saw her. Then about 5 years later, I was running a little recording studio, and she came in, and she was managing and producing a guy named Jimmy McNichols, who used to be a pop star, like a teeny bopper. And Jimmy and I were good friends for a long time after this. But she brought him in, and it was that red-haired girl, And she was in the studio and everything, and it was weird. Now I own a recording studio, and this girl who was like wouldn't even look at me at all before is now talking to me and coming in all the time. And I don't know, finally one night she called me and asked if she could come over out of the blue. I still didn't think she would be. I just thought she was being friendly, And that reminds me, I need to Google James or Jimmy McNichol and see how he is doing. Nobody will know who he is, but he was like a teeny bopper star. His sister is Christy McNichol. Jimmy and I we go way back. Google him, Google Diane, somebody else in this group. But yeah, she came in, and she called me one night, and she came over. I mean, it didn't have to do with business or mastering or anything, and I was like, cool. And she came over and in my little studio, and we spent all night. She had an old Range Rover, and we spent all night cruising around in that bucket of bolts, Even though she was a little rich heiress who lives on a trust fund, basically. She had bought this crappy old, she always made bad business decisions, but it was cool. It was like a truck from back home. She took me out to Malibu. She grew up there. Like, the Batmobile came to her 11th birthday party, you know, just shit like, insane shit like that. And, she took me out to Malibu, and as the sun came up, she took me way up in the hills, Malibu hills, and there's a house up there, an abandoned mansion, and it had like photographs of a 70s game show, and this was now like the late 80s, and I could see somebody, a successful producer, had lived in this mansion, but it was completely abandoned. It was only us. We were on top of this mountain. The sun was coming up, and we were just kicking around, and I was a country boy. I was going through all. She was like standing looking over the edge of the mountain at the sunset, or the ocean and the sunrise. Ocean's west, and the sunrise was behind her. And I was going through this mansion. I found these photographs, and I realized, oh man, I love this show. This thing he produced, there were all these, you know, photographs of it, and him on the set and stuff. And then I realized how throwaway all this stuff was, how disposable it was. Like, it was obviously his show. He invented and produced, or wrote, produced, whatever. But I'll never forget that in that old Range Rover. And later that morning, I got with her for the first time. We were together a long, long time. I have video of her archiving all my guitars. She got fat and got old, so did I. Now I'm not fat anymore at all. Hell, I've lost 33 pounds doing this. But finding that archive, those images on the network, reminded me of Ozzy. I have a tape recording. I would meet Ozzy at all the time at the AA meeting, or the 12-step meeting, whatever, breaking his anonymity. I'd see Ozzy all the time, and I ended up having a jam with him, and I got the tape of. He's a cool guy. This is years ago. But it's a cool song, and I wrote some songs in his style, and I really loved him back then. I really loved his music, you know. I found that, and a thing I did with Ronnie Wood. He actually played on one of my songs. All of those on that archive. I thought it was lost forever. So, name dropping like crazy, huh? Boy, people hate that. When you in LA, it's just sort of a given. It's like, you don't even have to name drop. It's not name dropping to go, hey, I'm working with so-and-so over here. You know, I'm working with, who knows, you know, the Rolling Stones over here. And people go, oh, yeah, me too. I'm stringing cable for Aerosmith over here. So what else is interesting actually is going on? Because that's all work. But when you leave LA, which I have, people just, they hate that, you know. Anyway. I try not to do it. I don't do it at all, because I know why they hate it. There's a lot of stuff behind that. They just hate it. I'm going to start doing originals soon, especially after that batch I found last night. Mick has got to be dead now. I wrote a rock opera with a guy named Mick. I did all the music and melodies, and he did the vocals and lyrics. And it's every bit as good as, not even remembering it really, and just hearing it last night. It's every bit as good as like the Who, Tommy, or I mean, it's just awesome. Oh, there's this fucking guy.